Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's top stories, we join city volunteers from around the globe as they celebrate the Chinese New Year at Hualien's Jingse abode. In our last report on Ciji's charity work in Jordan, we meet Jamil and see how he went from a businessman to a Ciji volunteer. And beginning today, we start a new series of feature reports to learn about Taiwan's historical site with our first story on Taipei's Songshan Cultural and Creative Park. Over the weekend, as many celebrated the Chinese New Year at home, many Ciji volunteers from around the globe returned to their spiritual homeland in Hualien to spend the holiday there. On the eve of Lunar New Year, kitchen volunteers woke up at 4 a.m. to prepare for the reunion banquets later in the evening. And despite the busy days, volunteers were happy to have the chance to form good affinities with the guests at the Jingse abode. As cooking large servings of food requires strength, Ciji volunteer Chen Wenfang, who used to be a caterer, is happy to lend a helping hand at Hualien's Jingse abode.
I used to cook meat dishes, but now I cook vegetarian. It feels different. My heart is more at ease.
With over 200 tables of dishes to cook, Ciji volunteers from around Taiwan returned to their spiritual homeland to help prepare the meals. Master Zheng Yan not only expressed her best wishes, but also did a little quiz on Chinese characters. As the master went around to each of the tables, volunteers seized the opportunity to express their best wishes.
Before we saw on TV how many Ciji volunteers gathered here for the Lunar New Year, and today I got to witness all that in person. It feels like family reunion.
One of the highlights of the event was receiving the signature blessing and wisdom red envelope from the master. Despite not being fluent in Taiwanese, a Ciji volunteer from the United States was determined to greet guests in their native tongue.
This type of work reminds me of real Ciji work because it's interacting with people. Smile, showing them that you care, showing them that you have compassion and concern about them. That's honesty, coming from the heart. So that makes me feel good.
On the first day of the Lunar New Year, as members of the public visited Jingse abode in large numbers, Ciji volunteers put on a series of performances and a variety of dishes for all to enjoy.
I feel blessed and happy to be able to make these things with others.
To spread Ciji's humanitarian spirit far and wide, volunteers put their creativity to the test each year as they come up with new ways to cook Jingse products.
Through sharing and promoting Jingse products, we get to form good affinities with Ciji volunteers from around the globe and from around the island.
With Ciji volunteers from some 12 countries gathered in Hualien for the festivities, everyone works to pass on the sincere love and warmth to every guest at the Jingse abode. As it is a tradition for Taiwanese families to spring clean before the start of a new year, the volume of recyclables at recycling stations also increases around this time of the year. Therefore, recycling volunteers at Ciji's Dongda grounds in Taizhou and Ciji Sansha grounds in New Taipei City spent New Year's Eve and the first day of the holiday at recycling stations, embracing the year ahead in a different yet meaningful way.
It's only 6:30 in the morning, yet a motorcycle carrying recyclables has already arrived at the Sansha recycling station. This time each year, Ciji's recycling stations see an increase in the intake of recyclables and have volunteers working through the morning till evening. Working here, there is no overtime pay, yet nothing stands in the way of these recycling volunteers.
It's okay, I don't need to eat. I'm full from doing this. I'm very hot.
On the eve of the Lunar New Year, Ciji's recycling van nevertheless makes its usual rounds.
One of the sisters called and asked if we could come over to help because a lot of recyclables needed storing. We were busy till 10:30 last night.
With the huge intake of recyclables that need sorting, even media volunteers put aside their cameras to assist. Each year, 80-year-old Senior Yang will always first sort recyclables before joining his family's reunion at home. Ready to embrace the new year, Grandpa Yang says he is grateful for his good health.
I was encouraged those who suffer from stroke to come do recycling work. It is the best cure.
Determined to safeguard the planet, these recycling volunteers promise to be back on the first day of the new year to continue their work. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, a warm atmosphere fills the air at Tzuji's Dongda grounds. Volunteer couple Huang Gezhi and Lin Peiqing kickstart the new year here at the recycling station.
We always spend our New Year at home watching TV and eating. But coming here, everyone can work together and give what they can.
On this day, volunteer Chen Jianjun also brought his 90-year-old mother and his 25-year-old son to celebrate the new year in a different way.
I'm grateful to our master for creating the Tzuji family, which my family is a part of.
Coming here to do recycling work is good for my health.
I'm happy to be here with my parents, especially my grandmother, as she is in good shape to do recycling. It is truly a blessing. Thank you for your dedication. Happy New Year.
I was here at 7 a.m. to do recycling. I'm so happy to receive a red envelope. Happy New Year.
To celebrate the start of the new year by saying good words, doing good deeds and walking the right path is a wonderful start for every family.
Tzuji Foundation's charity work in Jordan are carried out by a total of 10 volunteers. Among these volunteers is Jamel, a native Jordanian who is the latest to be certified as a Tzuji volunteer. In the last of our series of reports on compassion for Jordan, we learned how Jamel went from a businessman to become a Tzuji volunteer.
In Amman, the capital of Jordan, among the residential district, there is a dime store, and the owner of the store is known as the most honest man in Amman.
The first work in my shop, and I am working and my brother for sell girls school. This biscuit in Egyptian, this very biscuit soft, very soft.
This dime store has been around for 25 years. Jamel sells all sorts of beverages and snacks to nearby residents and wholesalers alike.
So this juice powder in Lebanon, this cocktail. Yes, okay.
The cramped store draws many customers daily, not because of the items are unique, but because of the fairness and honesty of the owner. What is usually common practice in the business world tends to be the exception in Arabian society.
For example, he first told me it was one price, but then he would change it later, or he would switch out the item with a different one.
Here, everyone cheats and lies. My father doesn't. He trusts everyone and he obeys the law. However the government's request is, he will follow. It took us 4 months to get a license for the store because we went by the book. If we had paid a bribe, we could have received the license sooner.
Every day, all days.
The main reason is that Mr. Chen is a model for my father. He and my father have known each other for 15 years, and my father feels Mr. Chen is very sincere. He is honest and doesn't take kickbacks.
The person who Amar is speaking of is Chen Qiuhua, the volunteer in charge of Tzu Chi activities in Jordan.
One family, one bag, because shop in the Zatari, in Wadi Abdul, one family, one bag is enough.
Father Jamil joined Tzu Chi 10 years ago. In the beginning, he thought our organization got a cut of the money. He once asked me, how much money do you take for yourself?
And Wadi Abdul was okay. Then we
I then explained to him that the most important thing about Tzu Chi is integrity and faithfulness. And all the money we receive goes toward those who need it most. And that I hope he would join us.
3年我回来了。
隔着山，隔着海，隔千里，隔不了思念伤人的心。
I vow in this society where there are many opportunities to eat meat, to use what I have learned about adapting a vegetarian diet over the past 10 years and after I returned to my country to be the first Arab vegetarian.
Magna Sadak.
This really is nothing like how I thought it would be. Sometimes it's a difficult road. It's really unbelievable.
On this unbelievable journey, Jamil incorporates his own religion into the Buddhist doctrine, and in walking the Tzu Chi path, he is never alone.
The musical rendition of the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings was first performed in Hualien, Taiwan in 2007. The show deeply moved Malaysia's Tzu Chi volunteers who vowed to take the performance back to their homeland one day. Beginning in 2009, volunteers managed to put on 24 successful performances around Malaysia and thus have inspired the love and compassion of many. This year, volunteers brought the musical back to Penang, where it all first started, in hopes of spreading Tzu Chi's humanitarian spirits further. As the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings is the spirit behind Tzu Chi's missions, beginning in 2009, Tzu Chi volunteers in Penang took the lead in performing the musical of the Buddhist classic for members of the public. Since then, 24 successful performances have been showcased around Malaysia. And this year, another 1,550 on-stage volunteers have devoted themselves to demonstrating the musical once again.
Through sharing the life stories of our volunteers and care recipients, we hope to help our audience understand the meaning behind the sutra. A modern performance like this is a way to help everyone understand the spirit of the Tzu Chi Foundation. With experience from over 20 shows, the cast of the musical decided to put on a different ending for the last 3 performances.
What is different from before is that the Dharma ship actually moves this time. It is a vessel that saves all sentient beings and then sails to shore, so every performer must be united in their movements. One wrong step will steer the ship in the wrong direction. For the 500 on-stage volunteers forming the shape of the Dharma ship to move in sync, 20 sign language teachers have been assigned to teach the movements in their communities. What others see in our performance is probably the sign language we put on, but in fact, even walking up and down the stairs is a way to cultivate our mindfulness.
At the beginning of the Lunar New Year, the 1,550 on-stage volunteers come together in a united effort in hopes of gathering compassion to pray for a world free from disasters. Today we begin a new series of feature reports to see how historical sites around Taiwan are being transformed to meet the needs of modern-day city dwellers. First, we take our viewers to the old tobacco factory in Taipei's Songshan district, which has been turned into a cultural park today, allowing residents to enjoy its greenery and historical flavor, while at the same time preserving the original architectural features.
Around us is the work of Boro Arietti. This is actually an exhibition of the work of cinema art king Yohei Taneda being shown here at Taipei's Songshan Culture Park. Why does the exhibition not reach all the way to the ceiling?
This is a historical building with 76 years of history. It is Taipei City's 99th structure to be classified as a historical site. So coming here, you will see there are a lot of rules that exhibitors need to adhere to, such as no use of fire, nails and items cannot be suspended from the walls or ceilings. So the walls of the exhibitions are short to preserve the original structure of the roof.
These rules were all put in place to protect the history of the site. Exhibitors can't even directly work on the concrete floor without taking steps to protect the floor first.
All of the cigarettes that were formerly produced here came from this factory. From this platform, they were moved down this ramp to that area behind us. So this difference in height was to make it easier to cart the cigarettes over to that area. What is interesting is that this area has naturally become part of the space that travels between the different exhibitions.
In the past, preventing fire was a #1 concern. Thus, we have this row of windows that all open to the outside and the numerous pieces of firefighting equipment, most of which can still be used today. In the courtyard, there are 4 pools, which were there to be used in case of a fire. As well, it was forbidden to smoke on factory grounds. Although this area is no longer a factory, since it is a historical site, smoking and fire are still forbidden. During the Japanese colonial era, the government, looking for ways to generate revenue, planted tobacco plants which were then proceeded into cigarettes and sold. In 1937, the Songshan tobacco plant was built and was Taiwan's first factory solely dedicated to the production of cigarettes. The factory and its grounds cover a total of 18 hectares. Although when compared to Taipei 101, the factory's smokestack pales in comparison. In 1980, before the development of the Xingyi area, it was a regional landmark. In 1998, the Songshan factory stopped production and was left vacant until 2001, and it was designated a historical site by the city government. That meant the office space, factory boiler room, and the 5 warehouses were all listed as protected sites. Currently, a Doraemon exhibition is being held in warehouse number 4 and 5. This is in line with the vision of the Songshan Park, which is not to seal it off in an attempt to preserve it, but to use the area as a cultural space that will encourage people to visit the grounds.
来看哆啦 A 梦展，然后天气又好，所以就带小朋友来，对啊。平常会这样子来这边吗？假日吗？不会，除非像这样子知道展览什么的，对。
What was once a factory has now become one of cultural and leisure hotspots for Taipei. Every day, one will see crowds of people here who are attracted to the unique mix of old and new, historical and modern, and past and present.
Moving to the United States, at the 2 year-end blessing ceremonies held by the Tzu Chi New York chapter, the chapter director as well as those in charge of liaison offices came together to put on the musical adaptation of Vow to Action, which deeply moved their participants.
Helping build the Dharma vessel at this year's year-end ceremony in New York are 42 volunteers, with the oldest being 75 years old. With resolute steps and resounding words, the volunteers try to bring to life the musical adaptation from vow to action. Not afraid of fatigue or hardship, the volunteers go through the difficult movements again and again. As they practice, the volunteers find that they have become closer and better able to work as a team.
Often people will ask why we are such a close-knit team during the aid distributions. One reason is that this teamwork has already been cultivated among everyone during such practice sessions as this.
Also among the volunteers is David Velez. Despite the language barrier he faces, he says he is having the time of his life.
I went to Taiwan recently and I met Master, and I think it changed me a little bit. I think it was a very enlightening experience, and I came back and they asked me to be in the performance because they needed guys, so I thought it would be good to give something back because I've seen everything that you have given to everybody across the world, and I really think it's incredible. And I figure if I could do something, I might as well do this, and I really have fun doing it too.
After 11 practice sessions in the space of a month, the volunteers finally took to the stage at the year-end blessing ceremony, where they put on an unforgettable experience for the audience.
On February 2nd, Thailand city volunteers held a rice distribution for residents in Ratchaburi, which lies 80 kilometers west of Bangkok. Each of the 125 participating households received a blessing and wisdom bread envelope and a 20-kilo bag of rice. Let's take a look.
With the aid distribution here in Thailand's Ratchaburi just around the corner, nursing students are getting a last practice in, while volunteers put the finishing touches on the distribution venue. As the participants arrive one by one, they are immediately struck by the care that the volunteers offer to all. And with a deep vow, volunteers hand out wisdom and blessing bread envelopes to each participant, inspiring all in the process.
Before, Tzu Chi volunteers discussed Tzu Chi with them, but many recipients still didn't understand what Tzu Chi is about. With a deeper understanding, they hopefully will take this feeling and share it with others, and thus bring more people into our ranks.
Each of the 20-kilo bags of rice are stamped with the Tzu Chi logo and stand as a testament to the organization's ability to deliver love where needed, regardless of the distance involved.
It feels wonderful to be able to help carry the bags for these recipients. It is another way of practicing giving.
Today's year-end celebration, combined with the rice distribution, has been a wonderful chance for everyone participating to feel how there is no distinction between giver and the recipient.
This is a very precious New Year's gift. Although it is only a bag of rice, it comes complete with blessings that money simply can't buy.
Although one bag of rice is not a lot in itself, but behind each bag is the love of many, who will continue to do their best to help these residents find a sense of financial freedom in the year ahead.
From the United States, the mayor of South Toms River of New Jersey, Joseph Champagne, recently visited Taiwan to express his gratitude to Tzu Chi for its relief work after Hurricane Sandy last year. After his 5-day trip, Champagne decided to become Master Zhen Yan's disciple. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.